What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about shocking things about visiting England, because here in America, we do things a certain way. We live our lives a certain way, and we kind of assume growing up here in the United States that that's just how life is. That's the way things are supposed to be. That's how it is. So, later in life, if we eventually do step outside our little American bubble and experience other cultures, it can be a bit shocking for us. Americans in particular, I think, we really don't expose ourselves very much to other cultures. So today, I'm really excited to highlight English culture, and in particular, this list of 10 shocks that visitors experience, and I am positive Americans experience when visiting England and experiencing the culture. So, this is a little video from the point of view of this American man who has visited England and some of the things that stuck out the most to him as different and, dare I say, shocking to Americans like myself. So I'm excited to see what those things are, and without any further ado, let's take a look.
And today what we have for you are the 10 things that might shock a tourist when they do come here to England.
Okay.
The first thing that shocks tourists is the English, they really mind their P's and Q's. I mean, they are very polite. You will hear some...
This is so sad in a way that this is the number one shock. And it's absolutely true. That's the saddest part, is how different this really is to American culture. That is funny to me. The English are quite polite and proper for the most part, so that's a generalization. Obviously, every unique individual is different, but in general, it is not a huge leap for me to believe that English culture people are more polite and considerate and respectful than Americans. That is not difficult at all for me to understand. I wonder how tangible and obvious this difference really is. Like, is it as simple as people in England really say sorry more or excuse me or just more polite in general? I wonder if there's like a study or something that can like empirically prove that English are much more polite than Americans. I wonder.
Sorry, please, thank you. So many times you'll understand when people say, I hope my little boy grows up to be an English gentleman, because they do have manners here. Now, not everybody has manners, but you will be surprised how much the politeness really comes in, whether you're talking to the police, or you're talking to the people that work in tourism, or just normal everyday people. The pleases, the sorries, to bump into people. Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, just as simple as saying sorry and thank you. Americans don't love to say that kind of stuff, especially sorry, admitting you're wrong. Not really in our American nature very much. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I've encountered throughout my life so many the kindest people, Americans that are super sweet and like considerate, but we're talking in general here. And I think that's totally true. On the same hand, I am never surprised, no matter where I am, when I run into someone who's very rude or loud or in your face or just giving their opinion, or you do something for them and they don't say sorry, they don't say thank you, or they bump into you and they don't say sorry, that never surprises me. So I think maybe that's the best way to maybe illustrate the difference. I'm not surprised in America when there's impoliteness. It is definitely somewhat standard from a lot of people.
It does kind of shock people with how polite they are. And with those P's and Q's, so P's the politeness, and Q is the cues here, okay? You'll be shocked with how people really stand in line very well here.
The cues!
And nobody queue jumps or line jumps.
The cues! I was like, what is he talking about, the cues? Because we do not call it a queue here in America. This is waiting in line, which would you say in England, like waiting in the queue or queuing? Americans are, oh my gosh, frustratingly bad at this. And it's like, man, I've been at the grocery store. The most annoying thing with this topic is the fact that you'll be waiting in line, trying to form a queue, And Americans will oftentimes just pretend like they don't understand what's going on, like they don't know why you're standing there or that you're in the line, and they will just walk in front of you. If you give an inch, if you give a foot of space between you and the next person, like I've had it happen. People, Americans, will just go in front of me as if I'm not in line, and then you have to say something, and they're like, you are? You're behind all these people in an orderly fashion? I couldn't even tell. Like, they pretend like they didn't even know. So it's very strange. And man, what a relief it would be. This seems like such a small thing, but it's kind of substantial. What a nice thing it would be to live in a country where people just respect the queue and just respect the waiting of everyone's in there, you're in a line, you're waiting. Oh man, that'd be nice.
Jumps their butts in line, because that is totally not a cool thing to do here in England. So that's the first thing that shocks people, how they mind their P's and their Q's, okay? Now the second...
Sounds very nice. I mean, that's the funny thing so far about this list is these are the shocking things about visiting England, especially for Americans, would be how nice and polite and respectful and orderly things are. That's what would shock Americans. That when you spell it out like that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of sad.
Good thing that kind of shocks tourists when they come here is you might actually like the food. I know, it's like I'm being sacrilegious here, saying you might like English food.
See, I don't know if this is a stereotype or something that I missed. I don't know why people say this, but I've never thought English food is inherently bad or known for being bad. I've never heard this. Is this like something people say? Because I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not shocked that English food is tasty and good. So I don't really understand this one.
But hear me out. They actually have some pretty good stuff when you are here.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly, but you'll be surprised how many like the foods you do have here you might really like.
Yeah.
When you sit down and have that English breakfast with a...
English breakfast looks good. I don't know what he means. Like, I think any American looking at an English breakfast, maybe not the beans, but we're gonna skip over that. We're not gonna talk about the beans. But any American looking at an English breakfast would be like, that looks good. That looks really, like, I don't think this is that shocking.
Eggs and beans and toast and sausages, bangers and stuff like that. It is such a good thing.
Oh, wait. I mean, he is bringing up some points here. The black pudding, blood sausage. Maybe that's his points. There are some English foods that are so far off from anything we have in America that Americans... Like, sometimes I react to some of these foods, and it very much is like, that's different. Like, we don't eat organs or blood or... sound like a vampire with what I'm saying. We don't eat human flesh like English do. No. And it is so different that I do have a knee-jerk reaction of like, I don't think I'd like that. So maybe that's his point. Like, if you're in England, try some of the traditional English dishes, even if they're very different from American food.
Thing. Or when you go to the pubs and you go have a pub grub there, have the Sunday roast.
Pub grub.
Or go have a good beef burger or
Yeah.
steak and kidney pie. There is actually a lot of good...
Yeah, these pies. Man, there is a lot of really cool looking English food. Are those fries on the right? And look like muffins or something on the top. And those pies are so different looking from any pies we have in America. Some Americans used to make like chicken pot pie. Maybe your grandma would. I've never seen that before. Maybe that's the closest thing. But these pies are very unique looking to me.
Good foods that are here. Fish and chips is an experience you should have.
Fish and chips.
Chocolates? Oh, Cadbury, come on. You can't compare American chocolate to British chocolate, English chocolate. It's two different worlds. And that kind of shocks people. They go, you know what? I actually had some food I liked here. I know, it sounds crazy. That's why it's the second thing that'll...
It does sound a bit crazy. Yeah, especially chocolates and stuff. Like, yeah, I would imagine a lot of Americans... I'm comparing this to Americans, but really... Anybody from another country visiting England would find stuff that's good. Like, it's just, the food sounds good.
shock you. The third thing that'll shock you about England is how much the weather does actually kind of suck sometimes.
Really?
No, it's not raining every day. Obviously, I'm here in beautiful sunny London. I mean, who says that? Beautiful sunny London? Yes.
I have wondered about this. I have actually wondered a lot about this because this is a stereotype. I have heard about England that the weather is terrible and it is always raining, and I have wondered. So the truth, that's an exaggeration. Sounds like the truth lies in the middle somewhere. There's some truth to this, that the weather can be bad, maybe more bad than on average in the United States, but it's not like rain storming every day, basically.
They do have sun here, and you do get to go outside when it's not pouring rain, but a lot of times...
There is sun in England. Just newsflash alert. Everyone, there is sun in England. Let it be known.
It does rain here. I've been here where it's raining like horizontally and getting soaking wet and all kinds of stuff.
Grab a brolly, which is an umbrella, a brolly at the Poundland. I'm not sure what a Poundland is. If you need a cheap one, okay, good tip.
So when you do come, just be prepared, because you know what? You might get a great day like this, or you might just get rain for the entire time you're here. So make sure you bring your rain jacket when you come to be prepared for the weather. And if you don't want to bring something, there's people selling umbrellas when it is a rainstorm, so you'll be okay. But just
I mean, it's enough of a concern that there's like an umbrella market, or brolly. Is that what it was? Brolly market. Yeah, I mean, that is concerning, actually. So there is a chance, if you travel to England, which is a big deal for Americans. That's like a big deal. Americans don't do a lot of international traveling. So if you travel to England on a vacation, there is a reasonable chance, like, it could be raining the whole time. So that makes me think, that leans me back towards, okay, maybe the stereotype is kind of true, that the weather is kind of bad in England. Huh.
no. Usually the weather kind of sucks sometimes. Not all the time, though.
Usually the weather kind of sucks sometimes. That's the only way to explain it.
Now, the fourth thing that shocks tourists when they come here is how much the pub is kind of a focal point of a lot of people's lives here. I mean, if you go to small towns, the pub is like the center where things go on, where you watch the football match and you have your Sunday roast and you go get a pint and talk about work.
Wow, this is actually really cool. So the pub, I've actually dedicated time and effort to try to learn about the English and the British pub, because there really is nothing like it in America. I thought pubs were like bars here. No, that's an insult to the pub. That's just not accurate. And funny enough, in America, we have like pubs that are trying to mimic English pubs or Scottish pubs or British pubs, basically, and they exist, and they're just kind of trying to imitate what a pub is. And now I know even those aren't accurate. The pub is an institution. And I didn't even know the way he's describing it in this video is even kind of interesting for me to hear. It can be the focal point, like a local pub can be the life of the local area where everyone kind of gathers and you get to know people. And it's almost like a family, especially outside big cities. I could see this being way more substantial in smaller communities, because then you really do see people you know at the pub, like it's the local pub. I really enjoy the concept of the pub, I have to say. I don't know if that's strange to say, but truthfully, as an American, we really don't have anything quite like it. And it's kind of like, I feel like we're almost missing this cool thing that English people and British people take part in. That kind of is a community thing. It's a place to get cozy and relax, and I don't know, it just sounds nice, I gotta say. And I would truly believe most Americans, kind of what he's saying here, with the shocking part of it. I think definitely most Americans don't realize this at all. Americans don't even know what we're missing with the pub.
Work and life of the family, and how much the pub really is a quintessential part of an English experience.
Yeah.
So make sure you do go there and have maybe some of those foods you like, or have an ale that the guy literally is cranking out for you. And it really is a part of everyday life here in England, and that's what's cool.
Do English people go to the pub? He says everyday life. Is it every day? If you went to the bar in America every day, people would say you have a problem. Because for one thing, the purpose of going to the bar is to drink alcohol. And I know at the pub you can go and you can have one beer, you can have nothing, you can have food, you can relax on a couch maybe, or bring your pets, or some people bring their children, right? And it's much different. So maybe it is acceptable to go every day.
Well, it's like, you think about the U.S., I'm going to the bar, or I'm going to a bar.
Yeah.
But here, I'm going to the pub, and it means something more. And that shocks tourists when they think,
Yeah.
oh, it's just a bar. No,
Yeah.
pub is so much more than that. So you can have your Sunday roast with the family, or
That's a good point, actually. For Americans, they would tend to think, oh, a pub, that's like a bar. And they would be completely wrong and pretty shocked at what the reality is.
pint with your pals and things like that, and the pub crawls and all these things that can go with it. It is really cool, and it shocks people how important pubs really are
Yeah.
to English culture.
Yeah.
Now, the fifth thing that'll shock you about England, which is kind of weird that I'm doing it here in London, is England is not just London. I know so many people that come
Right.
to London and they say, oh, I've seen England, or they say, I've seen Europe. Look,
I actually totally get this one, because I can just relate it to America, as I like to do. If someone came to the United States and went to New York City and said, oh, I have seen the United States, I've seen it all, I'd be like, that's crazy. Like, particularly, it might even be more extreme here, because we do have 50 different states. The United States is gigantic, and some of the states are so incredibly different. Cultures within the culture of America. So it's even more extreme here, maybe. So I can totally see, like, if you go to London, the biggest, most popular city, most famous place, hub in England, you definitely shouldn't be saying, oh, I've seen England, I've seen it all, because that's just not accurate. It's really cool, it's substantial to visit it, but it's not close to being England as a whole.
England and Europe, in that matter, is way more than London. London is an international city with all kinds of amazing things to do and see, but the country itself has tons of other things out
Yeah.
there. The natural beauty and the things to see and the history is fantastic. So you'll be shocked that there's more to England than London.
What is this? So there are extensive bus lines and train services throughout the country. Buses are much cheaper. Okay. Oh, like if you're trying to travel throughout England and see more of the country besides London, this would be relevant to that. There are bus lines and train services that will get you throughout England. That's awesome. By the way, I don't know why in America we don't have more long bus lines and more trains. Why not like a high-speed rail system or something? Like I don't know. We're too busy spending all our budget on like the military and more jets or something, I guess. Because we could have high-speed rails and trains and more public transportation. Basically, that would be wonderful.
So get out there. And that's why it leads into the sixth thing that's going to shock you.
Okay, what are we on here? We're on number 6. We're only halfway done with this list, so I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm getting a lot out of this, so I think I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to stop here for now and continue the rest of these shocking things about visiting England in part 2. So, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment. Perhaps if you've noticed any things that Americans or visitors find shocking about England. And if you're interested in more videos like this, or part 2 of this video, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.